Are you a Thatcherite party, or are you a populist party leaning in some respects to the left?
We are a party of reformers and common sense, Andrew, and what Nigel set out today is we are our own people. We're business people, and we will make work pay. We will make risk-taking pay. Risk is a good thing. Small businesses, Nigel focused very strongly on that, but we said very clearly we've got to make substantial cuts in the wasteful spending across the whole public sector. I've already identified some. I'll be talking more on Wednesday about this. So when we make the spending cuts, we make the regulatory cuts, you create growth, then you can afford what we call performance-related tax cuts, but only then.
Okay, I am still confused philosophically, but let's leave that to one side and just be absolutely clear. When you said at the time of the election that you were going to raise the higher rate of income tax threshold to £70,000, that's off the agenda now.
Well, at the end of the day, the key things we're focusing on is the aspiration, not day one, but the aspiration to make work pay for the lowest earners by lifting the starting point of income tax from £12,500 to £20,000. So that's the thing to focus on. But to achieve that, we've got to make the spending cuts by slashing net stupid zero. We can make substantial cuts and other changes.
So the rest of it, Richard, cutting fuel duty by 20 pence per litre, abolishing VAT on energy bills, inheritance tax, corporation tax, VAT, all gone. All gone.
That was a list for the time. Now we're in a completely different time.
But those tax cuts have all gone.
All aspirational, good ideas, but at the end of the day, the finances of the country are in a terrible state. They're going to get worse. As Nigel talked about today, we're very worried about the bond markets. We've got to focus on cutting the wasteful spending, making work pay, making small businesses want to take more risk. That will create growth. Then you can do tax cuts, such as we've talked about.
To get there, any responsible government, we both know, is going to have some losers as well as some winners. And I want to ask you a couple of things about the losers in all of this. Now, you yourself have said that defined benefit pensions in the public sector are becoming unaffordable. Those are the pensions that, nurses and doctors and the police and many more in the public sector get at the moment. So my first question is, are you going to cut them? And if so, is that going to be retrospective? If I'm a police officer retiring now on a pension, am I going to lose some of my pension under reform?
No. What we're saying is we've got to talk about the future and what's the right structure for pensions for everybody in the future. I've already started to talk about the management of the local government pension schemes. We've got to look at the whole issue of the future of the unfunded pension liabilities. The thing is to look at that in the future for future entrants.
So you're saying to people who are in the public sector at the moment, civil servants and the people I was mentioning,
a contract is a contract.
They're not going to lose anything.
Is an employment contract.
So this is not really a big saver in the short term. This is Andrew, in the short term it's not, Andrew, because they carry on getting their money.
Andrew, you have to appreciate the scale of the liabilities that are mounting up as people join the defined benefit public sector pension schemes, and it is enormous. And we're having a lot of work done. There'll be more on that. But
I'm not saying it's not a good thing to look at this. I'm just saying that in the short term, you're not going to save much money because all the people who are already on the defined pension carry on getting it.
I fundamentally disagree.
All right. Let me ask you about something else. You think the minimum wage is too high? It's not very high. It's sort of £10 or if you're younger.
As Nigel said, there's a range of ways of looking at it. The reality is that the Chancellor reduced the starting point for paying national insurance. So we've got to relook at all that. And here's the point. If it means that young people are priced out of work because the minimum wage for young people has been increased too far, you've got to be willing to look at it.
So it's about 10 quid an hour. You think that's too far? Too much?
But the direction of travel is further north in a declining.
One day, perhaps,
over the next couple of years, that's the Labour ambition. In a declining economy where private sector jobs are falling, we've got to be realistic about what's the right thing. So, what works?
Okay, so listen, I'm really interested in this. I'm sitting at home. I am 18 years old. I'm going to get the minimum wage in my first job. I really want to know what Richard Tice thinks I should be paid per hour.
Well, the great thing is to try and make sure that you're not taxed too much.
Give me an answer. Come on, Richard. You can give me an answer.
I'm not going to give you a per hour, per minute, because we're talking about in 3 years' time or 2 years' time when there's a general election.
But right now, you're saying £10 is too much.
What I'm going to say to any youngster is we will make work pay. And at the moment, in my constituency, I know 30 youngsters who were denied an opportunity in one theme park alone because of the national insurance increases. That's the sort of thing that I'm focusing on.
OK, so I'm listening at the moment and I'm thinking that if Reform become the government, I am going to lose some money, but they won't tell me how much.
No, if you're what we call alarm clock Britain, if you're getting up and going to work, no, you won't lose money. It's those who are abusing the system. It's the waste, of which there is vast amounts. They're the people we need to encourage to say, actually, you can't. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Work is a great thing. Everybody needs to work, including, as we said last week in a press conference, if you've got mild anxiety, the best solution to that, go to work.
Again, don't agree with the principle, but let's look at the detail of this. You've said mild anxiety. Who decides if my anxiety is mild or medium?
Face-to-face assessments as opposed to Zoom assessments.
So that takes a lot of time,
yes,
and it's expensive and slow.
Yeah.
But that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, but the assumption must be, it's up to the individual to prove that they've got, serious mental health issues, which is a very serious illness. We all know that. But what I think many people, the alarm clock Britain, are furious at those who are basically skiving.
I'm just trying to think about the amount of money that might be saved here, because if you don't know, and I don't know, and neither of us do know, how many of these people are really seriously mentally ill and really can't work, and how many, in your words, are skiving or have got very minor things. We don't know the numbers, therefore we can't tell what kind of savings are going to be made.
Zia Yusuf has been making some calculations.
He doesn't know either.
He makes some assumptions, but we also know, for example, we shouldn't be paying benefits to foreign nationals. That will save tens of billions of pounds.
That, as we both know, is a slightly different issue. I'm talking about the big numbers.
Andrew, wrong, Andrew. It's all the same issue of saving wasteful, unnecessary public sector spending.
But in terms of the savings,
you get the deficit down. Once you get the deficit down, if you start to deregulate back to where we need to be, then you create growth. And when you've got growth, you can afford performance-related tax cuts. All right.
At the moment, we spend as a country somewhere between 12 and 20 billion pounds a year on people with mental health problems who can't work. No one knows the exact figure, but that's the sort of range.
And we spend almost double that on net stupid zero, which we will scrap immediately.
Let me come to an even bigger figure, a much, much bigger figure. We spend £177 billion a year on pensioners. Now, that has gone up and up and up because of the triple lock. It's gone up from something like 2% of GDP back in the 50s and 60s to north of 8% now. And if you're looking at the welfare bill, that is the bit that is running out of control. But your party won't talk about it.
Nor the other
parties will talk.
For the third time this evening, you're wrong. On a number of occasions, Nigel has clearly said that we're not guaranteeing the triple lock. The nation's finances are in serious trouble and nothing's affordable if you go bust.
Well, that's a really important moment. So if I'm a pensioner listening, you will not guarantee the triple lock.
That's what we've said before, and we continue to say that. We can't guarantee it because we know the nation's finances are in a shocking state. Look, we'd all love to be able to pay as much as possible. We can only know where we're at when we start to make major savings, as we've talked about. But we're not guaranteeing the triple lock.
We are in trouble as a country, but even in trouble as a country, we have a lot of people still who are relatively prosperous. And the people that you're looking at for savings are the young and relatively impoverished on the minimum wage and pensioners, some of whom may be very impoverished as well. Is that entirely fair? In other words, is this a reasonable approach?
The people that we are urging to focus most on is those who are not working, who should be working, young people, middle-aged people, for whom they've got trapped. Many people have ended up being trapped on welfare because the whole welfare system has become skewed. We're saying we've got to motivate you back into work. That's the big one.
One final question. It may seem a rather silly, small thing, but you've said that you're going to lift the two-child cap, but only for married people with children.
Well, that was one example.
That's what you said today. I'm just wondering, if people are living together but are not married, would they count?
We'll produce all the detail. We've got plenty of time to get into all the detail. The point is working.
But
Andrew,
we agree it's interesting.
It is interesting, but it's all about working, Andrew. The thrust is on making work pay, making risk-taking pay, getting people to get up, go to work, and contribute to their families, their communities, and to our country.